Testing, testing. Ryan does stuff. Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me okay? Good morning. Hello there, everyone. Hopefully this sounds okay. You are audible. Okay, sweet. Should put on my glasses. I can't read chat. My eyes are so bad. So how's everyone doing? I've been a little bit busy kind of leading up to the holidays, so I haven't been able to upload at my regular pace, but I wanted to kind of do something, so I'm doing a live stream at the end of the year. Christina Smith, oh my God, hi. Hey, how's it going? Thank you for stopping in. Audio is good, sweet. It looks really choppy on my browser. Is it does it look okay on your guys' end? Maybe I should copy this into like a new window or something. It's super low FPS. Oh, I wonder why that's happening. A bit choppy, very laggy, low FPS. Okay, let me try and fix that. Oh, I think I know what it is actually. I think it's the resolution. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I gotta stop this super quick and then restart it one more time after I fix the resolution. Okay, hopefully that fixed it. Much better. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, much better. Cool. So how's everyone doing? 完璧. It's funny, I've been living in this house now for about 2.5 years, and this is like the second time I've done anything out in the courtyard, and it's such an asset. I should have started using this place earlier. It looks so good. I've got this I don't know, fairly new camera, Panasonic S9, and I've been using it in my office, but you really can't beat like just good sunlight outside. I've got like all these lights in my office and it doesn't look half as good as this does. Going back down south back down south in Canada after spending a year in subarctic. Wow, interesting. こんにちは。何を飲んでるんですか？水です。さっきコーヒー飲んでたんですけど、生配信始める前に、飲んじゃったんですよね。Panasonic, I love this camera. I love it. I think the quality is amazing. Hey, random question. Yeah, shoot, go for it. Oh, I should turn this setting off. I don't want to kill the battery. How do I do this? Okay. Hope the year has been well for you, Dogen-sama. Cheers to a new one. Oh man, there's birds in the Nakaniwa tree, like right above me right now. Oh man, I wonder if I could show you guys that. That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Can you guys see that? There's 3, I think they're Meijiron birds. It's like the bird of Oita. They're like these green birds, a little bit bigger than sparrows maybe. And they're like on the trees around there. Man, this is amazing. Wow. I'm a little bit worried that they're going to poop on me, but I guess, actually, I'm going to move the desk a little bit. Okay. Someone was asking a question. Hello, Dogen. What's your favorite style of sushi? I like maguro nigiri. 寿司か。サーモンかな。超アメリカ人のアメリカ人的な答えですかね。Sparrows usually won't poop on you. Yeah, I don't think they're sparrows. I think they're meijiron. I think that's what they're called. They're kind of like the symbol bird of Oita. Okay, that should be a little bit better. Okay, Dogen, thank you for being an entertainer. I'm gonna leave annoying comments on your X. Yeah, no worries. Hey Dogen, any tips on managing post-Japan depression? I just came back to the US last week and I want to go back. It's a good question that I can't really answer because it's something I've never really dealt with. Like I moved to Japan basically immediately after university, and I've more or less been here ever since. There was about a 6-month period when I was kind of visa hopping between that's the LAN cable, by the way. That looks significantly worse. I was visa hopping between South Korea, Seoul actually, and Japan, and I never went back to the States. So I've never, since moving to Japan after graduating from university, I've never lived in any other country besides South Korea, and that was like 2 months, 1 month with 3 months of Japan in between. So don't be afraid of a little nature. Well, I'll tell you what, like if these birds actually do poop on me, it's gonna be like that'll go viral. Man, this is crazy. Man, that's beautiful. Someone asked how my year has been. It's been really, really good in the sense of I'm currently working on 4 major projects that I haven't talked about really at all on YouTube. And almost every one of them, except for maybe one, is going to come out in 2025. It's supposed to be good luck if a bird poops on you. I guess we'll see about that. But yeah, 3 of the 4 at least will come out in 25, and they're all pretty major projects. And the 4th project in particular, it's by far kind of like the grandest thing that I've ever worked on. So I'm really, really excited to, we'll talk about that, but also each of the 4 projects, they're all going to be really, really kind of unlike anything I've done before. But yeah, sorry I can't help more with the post-Japan depression. If anything, I had the opposite experience when I went back to the States about, well, it was at the beginning of September. It was my first time back in like 2 or 3 months with Mr. Yabatan. Yeah, that is a Meijiron. Oh my God, that thing is right there. Oh my goodness, what is happening? These birds are like right next to me right now. How are they not like more nervous? Are they like curious about me or something? I should show you guys this. This is crazy. Oh, he hit the window. Can you guys see that? Hello, hello. Yeah, there he is. Man, just like chilling. Yeah, that's definitely a Meijiron. It's the green bird with the white eye. Very nimble. Dogen in his Disney princess era. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like very beautiful. I hope it doesn't like attack me though. Hello from Mexico. 私と家族は1月に日本に行きます。できればおすすめ場所をいただきませんか？おすすめの場所か。So I really recommend Minato Mirai in Yokohama. That's probably my favorite place in Japan. That's fairly close to Tokyo and is usually accessible for basically anyone that's going to be traveling to Japan. Because if you're traveling to Japan, 99% of the time you're going to be in Tokyo for a little bit of time at least. Minato Mirai. It's in Yokohama. It's like my favorite place in Japan, probably. Dogen sensei, konnichiwa, happy holidays. Hey, how's it going? But yeah, I'm super excited for the things that I'm going to be launching next year. I wish I could talk more about them right now because I've been working on each one of them for almost an hour every day for almost 2 years at this point. So there's been so much work and it's all like, much of it is going to be released in the fairly near future. Man, I saw a video of this guy who was taking like a selfie of himself in Kyoto. And man, it was unbelievable how many people were there right now. It's insane how crowded some of the more, what would you say, touristy destinations, touristy spots in Japan have become. How's the Suzuki Solio now that you've had it for a while? Oh man, it's amazing. The sliding doors on that thing are a game changer. When you have kids, power sliding doors are like the biggest game-changing feature that you can imagine. I'm good, thank you. I always enjoy your content. The way you demonstrated your new car was excellent. I want one too. Yeah, man, I love that car. I already scratched it though. I wish moving to Japan made more sense for me. Being a big car enthusiast, the difficulty of car ownership is concerning. Also, finding a job due to Japan having no digital nomad visa would be hard. Yeah, I wish Japan kind of did something. I wish they introduced another kind of, what would you say, like, well, I wish they made it easier for people who wanted to work here and have like a good track record. I wish they made it easier for them to come and start working in Japan. There's definitely a lot of conversations going around right now about, exactly how many tourists Japan should let in, whether tourism, not tourism, but immigration, whether or not, that's like a big net positive or potentially like a net negative for Japan. And it's a very, maybe I won't go down that rabbit hole right now. Hey Dogen, can Dogen have 1 million subs already? Love your content. It'll be a little bit more time before I get 1 million, but thank you. I appreciate that. Hello from Nara. I can vouch, Ari, the tourist situation. I've never been to Nara, actually. It's like one of the places that I'm dying to go. One of the reasons I really want to go there is because one of my favorite places in Japan is Kamakura. And they have the Daibutsu there. One of the two big giant bronze Buddhas from I think that one was built around 1100 AD. And I think that the one from the Nara Jidai だったかな? でしょうね. Was, I don't know, from like 700 or 800 AD. Let me look that up real quick. I'm kind of curious now. Todaiji. Is it Todaiji? Yeah, Nara Daibutsu. Yeah, okay, 745, the year 745. Man, I gotta go there for sure. Good morning, Dogen. Love from my side. Thank you. Solio's the best small van. Was fun for Dogen to be on Takashi. That was awesome. I loved hanging out with him. I think that video that we made together, I think the one that we did on his channel turned out really well as well. He did a really fantastic job conducting the interview. I tend to kind of ramble, but he kind of kept me on the rails, which was good. But I think that the video that we did for my channel, the comedic one about like the Japanese politicians when there's a misunderstanding between him and myself, I thought that was maybe my favorite comedic video that I did this year. And he nailed it. I mean, it took us probably like 8 or 9 takes before we got a good one, but I think it turned out really well. Dogen is a bad Japanese. Any Nihonjin would know those daibutsus were built. Yeah, probably true. His delivery was so good. Yeah, that was such a good video. The way that it turned out, like, the thing that I love most about that video is that the first time you watch it, it's not funny until the very end. But the second time you watch it, every utterance becomes a joke because you understand the miscommunication. So the replayability is quite high. Hello, Dogen, love your content. Your pitch accent series was really helpful. A quick question at this point. Do you think in English or in Japanese? It really depends on the situation. Like if I'm with my family, I only speak English with my kids just in order to, well, I want to make sure that they can speak English very, very well. And so when I'm around my family, I tend to speak usually just in English. I speak English and Japanese with my wife, but if I'm hanging out with like a Japanese friend or like, when I was meeting with Takashi, I was speaking in Japanese the whole time. And so it kind of like those interactions rub off into your kind of the way that you think. So after I hung out with Takashi for a bit, then like, I would think in Japanese for the next hour or two after that. And then I would, be with my family a little bit more and then back into English or something like that. But I think, yeah, it's really a combination of the two. A beautiful place tourists miss is Okayama. Have you been? I have not. All the fruit farms, best white peaches and grapes in Japan. Oh, Wagyu came from there as well. Merry Christmas. Yeah, I haven't been to Okayama, but I'd like to go there. I mean, I'd like to go everywhere in Japan. How old are you, Dogen-san? So I'm 37. Merry Christmas. I've been following you since 2015. Love your work retrospectively. Are there things you wish you had done better in the past 10 years? And do you have an ideal for the next 10? Yeah, that's a great question. The biggest change that I've made in my life probably over the past 3 years is waking up early and working like first thing in the morning, because I work at home. My office is in, oh, thank you very much for the super chat. I'll get to this in just one second. NTRS, thank you so much for that. Arigatou gozaimasu. I work from home, and luckily I can't hear the doorbell right now, which would kind of be very distracting if someone came. But when you work from home, and it's particularly like, I don't know, one of your kids is sick or something like that, but there's just a million distractions. Like my wife might need help with something. Someone might ring the doorbell, like someone from Amazon, or like a neighbor like wanting help with something. Or I don't know, I might get like a phone call, a phone call or like a text from my coworker or something like that. There's like a million things that could, distract me from work. And, most of those distractions sound, it kind of has like a negative connotation, but there are many things that can disrupt your workflow. And you just have to attend to those when you have that responsibility. So I do have to, like go watch my kids at school time to time, or I do have to, I don't know, help like the Amazon guy that comes and like move the boxes inside or whatever it might be. But when you wake up at like, I don't know, 5 o'clock or whatever, I wake up between 5 and 6 each day. Kind of just depends on how much sleep I get the previous night. There are no distractions whatsoever. No one's messaging you. Your kids aren't up. Everyone's sleeping. No one from Amazon is going to come and ring the doorbell or anything like that. It's like you have a solid hour or a solid 2 hours to get all of the work done that you can. And that kind of like uninterrupted work time is really, really, I think, invaluable. I feel like 1 hour of uninterrupted work time in the morning is as valuable as like 3 hours of normal work time from like anytime between 9 and 5 p.m. just because I know I can just, dial in. So that's probably the biggest thing that I wish I had started earlier. I started doing that a little bit over 2 years ago because I started doing that immediately after I watched Cyberpunk Edge Runners. That kind of like changed my life. And without getting into too much detail, for these 4 projects that I mentioned earlier, things that I'm working on besides my normal YouTube stuff right now, I've been working mostly in the morning on each of these projects. So there's been hundreds of hours that have gone into each of these, probably closer to, well, I don't know, about 1,000. But because one of them I've been working on it for actually significantly longer than 2 years. It's just there was a big gap when I wasn't working on it at all. But I look forward to doing more of that work in the future, and I'm really excited to show you guys all this work that I've been doing in the shadows for the past 2-ish years, 2 years-ish, yeah. Okay, let me get to the super chat. Thank you very much. I'm like N3 level and my Japanese friends are the same age and interests. How do I break the ice and use honne without looking like a gaijin? Oh God, that's such a good question. What I would honestly do is, well, I don't know how old you are, but I talked about this in my Why You Should Drink in Japan video. But basically, if you are open to the idea of drinking, one of the best ways to like break the ice, but kind of like have a proper discussion with a Japanese person, is to go drinking with them. A lot of Japanese people will immediately let down their guard if you're drinking with them. And I've found that 9 times out of 10, I could have a much deeper discussion with Japanese people of all ages, whether they were my age, older than me, or younger than me, when there was alcohol involved. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that don't drink, and that's totally fine. But I don't say this as like, I'm not trying to like reprimand anyone or be like, you should drink alcohol. Like, if you don't drink alcohol, you're missing out. Like, I don't know. It's a personal decision, and I totally respect that. But a lot of people, I didn't drink alcohol for a very long time. Until I was about 25 years old. So I never drank during university or anything like that. And I was pretty against the idea of drinking alcohol, but I found that drinking culture in Japan and drinking culture in the United States is fundamentally different. And so kind of that hesitation that I had towards American drinking culture, it wasn't really relevant in most of the situations where people were drinking in Japan. And what I mean by that is, the drinking culture that I experienced in the United States, it was kind of fraternity drinking culture, like let's party. The purpose of drinking is to party, is to wild out or whatever. And I found that in Japan, it was like the exact opposite. It was like the purpose of drinking is to have a deeper level discussion. It's like, what would you say, implicit agreement to be real with each other. And it's a fundamentally different kind of experience than drinking in the United States, at least at like the university level. So I would say consider alcohol if you're open to that. Okay, hopefully this will cover the price of coffee. Hello world, thank you so much. Well, it definitely covers the price of an espresso, which was like $1. So I appreciate that, thank you. I'm gonna reorient my camera now that the birds are gone and I don't have to worry about them pooping on me. Give me 1 second. Shadows are a little bit harsher, but I don't know, that should be okay. Okay. A lot of Japanese people will immediately let down their guard when they go drinking. Yeah. First few hours is the best time to work, so they say. Yeah, it makes all the difference in the world for me. I noticed the same. I was more consistently happy and more productive while waking up early around 5 or 5:30 a.m. Yeah, I think for me, it's a combination of one, being able to just get more work hours out of the day and be more productive with the time that you have. But also, I've struggled with, I don't know if insomnia is the right word or not, but I tend to overthink. And I just think myself into circles, like when I lie down and go to sleep at night. And I've always had trouble falling asleep quickly because of that. But I found that when I wake up at the exact same time every single day, and it's an early time, then I can fall asleep much faster as well. And so that hour where I would be kind of like tossing and turning, but not actually sleeping at around, I don't know, 10 or 11 at night or whatever, that's just like gone. It's like I get in bed, I fall asleep within 5 minutes. I have an extra hour that I can do stuff with. And when you have kids, an hour is like, it's all the difference in the world. 外国人の友達と日本人の友達の日常会話で大きな違いは笑い方と笑うタイミングだと思うことが多々あります。まあそうでしょうね。笑うタイミングもまあそうでしょうね。笑い方か。まあそれもちょっと分かるような気がしますね。僕も結構もうすぐにハッハッハってなるから周りの日本人はあんまりならないですね。Your camera is so good. Thank you. I mean, it's like a $1,000 camera. If you buy it used, I guess. It's the Panasonic S9. It came out, I think around June this year. My buddy Harris Heller from the Senpai Gaming channel, he like got flown out to Panasonic's event where they released the camera, and he swung by Oita, so. And he was like, dude, check out this camera. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I immediately bought one. Are you settled into your gorgeous house? How do you like it? Yeah, I'm more or less settled in now. It took a long time to get settled. One of the things that we're kind of dealing with right now, I'm actually going to do some work on this tomorrow morning, is when we built the house, of course, because we built it from scratch, they said like, okay, like what kind of internet connection do you want? And I don't know too much about like the internet and like networking and like network attached storages and that kind of thing. But every now and then I'll watch like a Linus Tech Tips video, and he's always talking about like 10 gigabit Ethernet and like how it's like a really important thing. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to build a house, I should probably get 10 gig Ethernet. And so when the guy was like, what kind of home network do you want? And I was like, 10 gig, please. And he was like, believe me, you don't need 10 gigabit. And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah, because like the speed of the internet in Oita, like even the fastest places will never even it'll never even get to like a gigabyte, or not a gigabyte, a gigabit, I guess. And so like, if you get 10 gig, you'll never even be using like, even like 10% of that. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. And so we just ended up getting like normal internet, which is 1, gigabit Ethernet. But then I ran out of storage the other day on my computer, and I was like, oh, one of the things I've been doing for the past couple of years is I've got like one external hard drive for my Japanese phonetics stuff. I've got one external hard drive for like my personal pictures. I've got one for like my time machine backups and that kind of thing. And then like I've got one for like family photos as well. So I've got like 4, there might have been like a 5th one. Actually, yeah, there's like another one that has like kids shows on it. So there's like 5 different like little hard drives that I'm regularly plugging in and out of my computer. And when I ran out of storage the other day, I was like, there's got to be a better solution to this. And I looked into it, and of course this is like why people have home networking. Like you keep everything on like a NAS device or something like that. And like a RAID 1 NAS or something like that. And so as soon as I figured that out, I was like, oh, wait a second, what was the speed of my internet? And I looked into it, and we only have gigabit Ethernet, because the guy, again, he was like, you don't need 10 gigabit, trust me. and I did. I was like, okay, I'll trust you. You know what you're talking about. But of course, he didn't know that I was a YouTuber, and that I regularly, work with like 50, 100 gigabyte, files. And so it's just like, oh my God, like fixing that after the fact is a really, really, really big deal. But if you do it, while you build the house, it's like $100 difference for like the whole house, because the cables themselves aren't that expensive, the 10 gigabyte cables. You have to get like a more expensive router, but that's not a terribly big deal. You can change that after the fact. But because of the way that my house is built, basically it's impossible for me to change from 1 gig to 10 gig now. And it's like, I'm shooting myself in the foot. Like I'm so frustrated with myself because I didn't look into this more. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, it'd be cool to do a collab with Linus. I think he's a little bit too busy for a pleb like me, but sorry, the sun is a little bit harsh. I'm gonna move a little bit back over here. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna shoot my computer going that, no, I'm not. Sorry. What is your opinion on about the newly popular buying an Akiya? Do you think there is an age that is too old to move to Japan? I would probably never buy an Akiya in Japan, because in my experience, I've been in a lot of old Japanese houses, the kind that typically become Akiya. Yeah, and 9 times out of 10, those kind of houses need a tremendous amount of work before they're comfortable places to live. Like they look gorgeous because Japanese architecture is beautiful. Like it's very warm, there's a lot of wood, there's tatami mats and that kind of thing. But those kind of houses typically have like washiki, like squat toilets. They're typically very, very poorly insulated. And 9 times out of 10 for a place like that, like you have to replace like every air conditioner unit in the house. You have to replace the entire kitchen. You need to, like, even if the family room looks cool because it's like this traditional, like wooden tatami style room, it'll never actually end up looking like that, because you're going to need to put down like an electric blanket and like a space heater and like a consento, like top, how do you say that? Like an extension cord and like all these things. And to me, it's not worth the effort. That's because if you're like into the remodeling process, then like by all means, I think it'd be like a really fun like project. But as someone who just is more passionate about other things in their life right now, it's something that I personally would not do. I would just build from zero like I did for this house. I'd say, this is what I want. I need good insulation. I need good, internet, which I didn't get. But yeah, I would probably never do like a renovation thing. And like the whole issue with earthquakes, a lot of those houses, Akiya houses, many of those would go down like that in a big earthquake. And Japan is expected to get hit by a big earthquake in the very near future. Did they install Category 5E cables instead of Category 6? Yes, they did. Exactly. You only need Cat 6 cables. Yeah, exactly. It's like the cables themselves aren't that expensive. But he insisted that I don't need them. And he was like, I'm just going to use these Cat 5E cables. And so, shoot, someone just came to the house. I'm just going to ignore that. I can't get that right now. And so, yeah, all the cables, all the LAN cables in our house, and we have a lot, they're all 5E cables. It sucks. Don't you have to meet building codes with those? I don't know about the Akiya. I think probably like if it's built beforehand, like it's just like a hazard. Like, okay, know that it'll probably go down in an earthquake, but you probably, shoot, he keeps ringing the doorbell. I'll be right back, guys. Maybe you can hear my audio when I talk to him. Hi, そこに置いといてください。はい、すいません。Okay, sorry about that, guys. I'm heading back to the computer right now. よいしょ。I think that this perfectly illustrates what I was talking about earlier, though, with like the Amazon guys coming and, you know, leaving something. My wife does a lot of like online shopping. I guess I do most of my shopping online as well, but it's just like every day, like we'll get 3 or 4 different packages because we get a fair amount of like our groceries in the mail as well. But of course, like it's Christmas season right now. I've got to get like presents for the kids and stuff like that. So, oh shoot, I got to reorient my camera. I didn't take care of that. Okay, plaster is patchable. Yeah, it's unfortunately, we don't use, it's not an easy fix because of the way that our house was built. So yeah, it's, Sora the Troll made a video about you. Yeah, we recently collabed. I love that guy. If you have cable Ethernet, you are sharing the bandwidth with other people. And we have fiber optic. What about wireless internet? It's not as fast as wired in our particular situation. So it's, I just wanted like a fast home network is what I'm trying to say. But it's basically impossible because of the way that our house is constructed. Like I know that in the States, it's not that big of a deal. You may want to try 10 gig over Cat 5e if they are well-built cables, it may work. Cable Ethernet, really? New wireless is faster than 1 gigabit. Can you expand on that a little bit? Are you living in the city or the countryside? I live in Beppu, which is definitely countryside. He needs the high transfer rate at layer 2, transferring between his laptop and NAS. I'm talking Wi-Fi. Oh, rip to wireless then. Yeah. Because the thing is, like, I'm regularly like transporting like 50 gigabyte files back and forth, and so I don't think wireless would work for that. Okay, if you could broadcast telepathically one message about Japan to the whole world right now, what would that be? Geez, I don't. Yokohama is better than Tokyo? I don't know, that's maybe blasphemy, but. I've been thinking about Starlink, actually. Should you go with Thunderbolt these days? You should go with Thunderbolt anyway to transfer files. Yeah, I mean, like what I do right now is I've just got like an external, I use like an Apple Studio display, and it's got it's got three 10 gigabit USB-C ports on the back of that, and I've basically just got like a multiple USB-C connected SSDs, like taped to the back of the monitor. So yeah. I want to make sure to say that I just signed up for your phonetics just in time for eMERS to come out, and I'm looking forward to it. Been studying about 2 years. Okay, maybe this is like a good opportunity for me to like say this. I don't want to talk too much about eMERS specifically because that's a very kind of specific thing. But right now, as many people know, I teach. Am I like even centered on my camera? I don't think I am. I teach Japanese pronunciation and pitch accent on my Patreon, which is patreon.com/Dogen. And if you sign up right now with the annual course, then we're offering that at 25% off, and that's by far the biggest discount that we've ever offered. You got to use code JOZE10. I think that was the code. I linked it in the description of this video, I believe. But I believe that the code also shows up like directly on the website when you go over. But here, I'll put it in chat right now. So normally, like the biggest discount that we've ever offered in the past is 16%. And right now we're offering 25% off, and we've been offering 25% off since around the beginning of December, and that deal is going to expire, I believe, the day after Christmas. Is it Joel's at 25? Let me check that real quick. Well, it should be showing up in, oh yeah, Joel's at 25, that's the code. That'll show up, if you use that code, you can get 25% off of the course. And there's been a lot of things that we've offered in the course in recent years. Like we currently have a native Japanese teacher, Masuno Sensei. It's a female Japanese teacher who's trained in this kind of thing, pitch, accent, and pronunciation. And if you sign up for the phonetics course tier, then once a month you can participate in her kind of like online lectures. So in addition to the video course that I created, that has like 80 something videos on Japanese pronunciation, but I don't know, probably like 50 or maybe even like closer to like 35 core videos that'll make a big difference. You can participate in these live Zoom lectures that she does at least once a month at no additional cost. And she's a fantastic teacher. She's really, really good at teaching this kind of thing. So it's an even better deal now than it was before. And I can't get into the details too much right now, but we also just announced a major new Japanese learning tool that can make a tremendous difference for pitch, accent, and pronunciation studies that I'm going to make another announcement about in probably about 2 or 3 weeks on a public video on YouTube. But it's already out on Patreon. It's kind of in its beta launch right now. If you're curious about what that is, then perhaps go over to Patreon and check that out. Okay. If you pay for 1 year, the code is added automatically. No need to add it. Okay, that's good to know. What is that white thing to the left though? Yeah, this is the LAN cable like running out of the window, running into my computer right now. Is AirDrop really up to 320 megabytes a second? That's pretty crazy. The difference between older and newer Ethernet cables is better protection from crosstalk on each individual conductor as more data gets pushed. So sometimes Cat5e can carry faster speeds? Really? Oh, is there... Oh, yeah, sorry, that's my cup. Yeah, I do need some kind of like shade or something like that. Like a sun, yeah, reflector or something. M1 見ましたか? いや、まだ見てないです。見なきゃ。I might recommend a DAS, direct access storage, preferably Thunderbolt, while having multiple bays. But problem is that it doesn't have plug and play to merge those drives as far as I recall. There's always the possibility of putting a local 10G switch in your office or workspace where the NAS and computer are together. I guess I could try that. Or a really wide brim hat would work. 道元さん、はじめまして、いつも動画楽しみにしています。お体にお気をつけて。ありがとうございます。気をつけます。Max throughput of Wi-Fi 6 is 9. Wow, maybe I should just wait for like, yeah, Wi-Fi 7 or something. Hey Dogen, do you think it is a good idea for me to replace my Western style bed with a shikibuton and tatami mats? My bed frame broke and I want more space, but I'm not fully sure yet. It depends 100% on your personality. I should make a video about this. And what I mean by this is, the good thing about a Western bed is that, especially if you have something like a Roomba, you don't have to worry about the space underneath your bed getting all dusty and moldy and nasty. Because if it's up on, stilts on the bed frame, there's going to be airflow under the bed. So your mattress is going to get airflow, beneath your bed is going to get airflow. You can periodically like vacuum beneath it. But every now and then I'll sleep upstairs because like my wife gets like sick or something, or I get sick, or I didn't get enough sleep the night before, and like every now and then my kids will wake up in the night and I have to get enough sleep at night. So I'll sleep upstairs every now and then. And every time I do it, I end up just like leaving the futon out because it's a pain to like put those things away every day. Like it's really easy to make a bed. You just kind of like, flick the sheets, right? And it's more or less fine. But like with a shikibuton, like a Japanese futon style where you've got like maybe one or two pillows, you've got the comforter that you put on you, you've got the mat that you sleep on, and then you put like the second mat underneath the mat that you sleep on. So it's like 4 or 5 different things that you have to put in and out of the closet, take in and out of the closet every single time that you sleep. And if you are a mendokusagari, like if you are the kind of person that can't be bothered to do that every time that you sleep or get up in the morning, then your futon is going to get like really nasty because there's not going to be a lot of like airflow underneath it. So it depends on your personality. Like, will you actually clean it up every day? If you will, then I would say go for it because it's pretty cheap. Oh, what's up, Sora? Dogen-san, かっこいいです。いえいえいえいえ。Soraの方がかっこいいです。Of all the gaijin YouTubers, you have the most interesting and the most part Japanese perspective on topics. Love that about your channel. どうですかね? そうなのかな? I think we just have different perspectives. Mine is perhaps the most closer to Japanese, but I wouldn't say that it's actually Japanese. I actually talked to Sora about this, but I think that my personality is quite Japanese, but my values are still quite American. Sora senpai, かっこいいです。I think I'm going to try it then. Thank you. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, go for it. Hopefully it works out for you. Just be sure that you actually put it away, because if you don't, like it will get moldy, seriously, because the sweat from your body when you sleep is going to go into the futon, and then from the futon like into the tatami. And if you don't have airflow, it's just going to get moldy, and then you're going to have to replace all that stuff. Can you usually predict which videos will perform well? You had a couple of videos that went pretty viral this year. Yes and no. Like for example, I know usually that like the longer videos, like whether it's that earthquake video that I made, or like the Japan Loves Small Things videos that I made, like YouTube in general, it just prioritizes longer videos. So I was pretty confident that those videos would do better than normal. They ended up doing far better than I had expected, so I wasn't anticipating that. But then every now and then, like I'll have a video that, well, maybe this is the better way to phrase it. Every time on Twitter, at least, where I've had a viral tweet, I've thought about the wording extensively. Like I talked about this on a podcast I recently went on, the Unpacking Japan podcast. It's not out just yet, but that video, or that tweet that I made, Japan's greatest tragedy is having the world's greatest toilets and no Mexican food. What's the point of owning a Ferrari if you never take it to the track? Like that's probably the most viral tweet that I've ever made. And I was very calculated about that. Like it took me probably 2 weeks to finalize the wording on that tweet. いつも動画見てます。アニメ好きな道元さんはダダンダン見てらっしゃいますか？日本的要素が高いので海外の方にはどう映ってるのかなって感じています。レビュー いただけたら嬉しいです。実は見てないんですよ。見なきゃなーって思いながらも見てないんです。っていうのは、なんかすごくいいって聞いたんですけど、ストーリー的にはなんか自分はかなりね、暗くて、なんかこう、とにかく暗い物語が好きなんですよ。なんか少年漫画とか少年アニメよりも例えばアニメで言うとナルトよりモンスターの方が好きです。進撃の巨人より、今読んでいる漫画、おやすみぷんぷんの方が好きです。両方名作だと思うんですけど、トーン的にはその暗いやつが大好きで、The Dandan is a riot. I love it. Yeah, like when it comes to kind of like comedy and anime, it's not really my thing. So I can't really speak too much. I had heard from one of my friends that The Dandan has a lot of comedy in it. And so I haven't watched it kind of specifically because of that. I've heard great things about it though. Okay, Asano Sensei's work is really that good. Yeah. Man, the first volume of Oyasumi Pun Pun like blew me out of the water. When I read that, I was like, oh my God. Like so many like just incredible bits in that. I'm currently on volume 8 or 9. Yeah. Shonen is getting edgier though, maybe. Actually, maybe it always has been. I don't know, it kind of depends on the shonen. Maybe what would you say the classification for what shonen anime is becoming wider. And within that widening spectrum, there are, not necessarily, but because the spectrum is wider, there's more like edgier stuff. I wouldn't say that the trend in general is going more towards edgy, but as anime becomes more popular and more anime, I think we have the tendency to call all popular anime shonen anime, which I think isn't very accurate, but I understand what you're saying. Like, I don't know, like Chainsaw Man, is that like shonen anime, shonen manga kana? Like it's so dark in some places, and I think like many people would consider it shonen, but at the same time, like I think there's a good argument that it's not. Looking forward to Sakamoto Days though. I've heard really good things about that as well. The Dandan is not my cup of tea. I'm personally not interested in kaiju-esque action. Dropped around 80 chapters. 80. Oh my goodness.チェーンソーマンの映画のトレーラー良かったですよね。あ、映画はまだ見てないんですよね、トレーラー。シリーズは大好きだったんですけど。Like the writing in Chainsaw Man, particularly like the first 5 episodes, I thought was so good. Like I just couldn't get over how good it was. 昨日出ました。ちょっと見てみよう。今は見ないんですけど。アニメ？マジかよ。これは見なきゃな。いやー、楽しみだな。いいね。後で見よう。Where did you buy that tumbler? Looks like 2 liters or maybe 3. I think it's like 1.4. Oh, no, this is 887 milliliters. So it's not even a liter, but my brother bought it from me, or brought it from the United States because apparently they're really popular in the United States. So I'm using the Rode Wireless Go Pro, and I've been like extremely pleased with this. Dogen, what is your favorite aizuchi? Definitely coal. なんかこう、いや、こう, I always use that. I feel like it's like one step up from like なんか. Lots of CG in Chinese anime now. Is there a way to, I don't know, I haven't seen a lot of Chinese anime. Is there a way to contact you for a personal question? Important, but for a good reason, not asking it here. Yeah, Patreon, I guess. Sign up on Patreon in like the free tier, and then just send me a direct message over there. Oh, snap. Is Dogen streaming on YouTube? What's going on here? What's up, Tokyo Sam? By the way, been liking the longer format stuff, dude. The world needs more Dogen. Gonna make some reaction videos to that stuff. Hey, I appreciate it, dude. I've been trying to do more long form stuff. I kind of talked about this earlier in the video, but there's like 4 projects that I've been working on in the shadows, behind the scenes for the past couple of years at this point. 2 of them have been like for at least 2 years. The other 2 have been maybe closer to like a year and a half, but those have been taking up so much time recently that we wanted to hit a deadline with one of those in the not too distant future. So I haven't been able to upload as regularly recently, but I do like making those longer videos, and I really enjoyed kind of experimenting out of normal content. So I'm glad that you like that stuff. And how are you doing, Sam? ね、ダークなら今放送中の地あたりでしょうか。天動説から地動説。なんか聞いたな。はいはいはいはい。I think my wife was watching this. It's like about like the orbit of the Earth, or like how people thought it was like the sun was going around the Earth, but then, oh no, it's more like the Earth is going around the sun. Like it's about that or something. I don't know, but Chinese specifically, at least from what I saw. Dogen, be careful. I heard Sora smells like onions. Sending you lots of love. Do you enjoy winter sports in Japan? So many foreigners you find in skiing places rather than Japanese. I used to snowboard pretty religiously. Like I was really into snowboarding in middle school and high school in particular. I was okay at it too. But I've only done it in Japan like once or twice. And now that I have kids, it's kind of like out of the question. I mean, I could do it. It's just that they already have like so many things that they're already doing. Like they have their sports that they're already doing. They have like art lessons, and then they've got like, let's see, they've got their art lessons. They've got like their English stuff. They've got their sports stuff, and then they've got, of course, all of their school and their homework and stuff like that. So we just went to like USJ as well. So I don't exactly have the budget to like drop like $2,000 on ski and snowboard equipment for the whole family as well. So soon. Okay. Tokyo Sam. I'm doing good, dude. Starting a series where I react to other Japan people, including your long form stuff. Doing a 47 prefecture tattoo project. Got Swan's name. Nice, dude. I was thinking about Roger the other day, man. I still get shook up every time I think about that. For those that don't know, Tokyo Sam, I believe, was studying abroad in Japan, or maybe you were already living here teaching English. I can't remember which it was, but I lived next to a guy named Roger Swan, who went by Tokyo Swan on YouTube. And he was kind of like one of the first generation of like Japan vloggers. And he just had like the purest, nicest personality ever. He was just like probably the best guy I've ever met in my life. And I lived next to him in the student apartment that I lived in during study abroad. So I knew him very well, and we had like all the same classes as well. I sat next to him during classes as well. And he also knew Sam, Tokyo Sam, who's in chat right now, because at the same time, Sam was also creating online content about Japan. And so like the group of people at that time that was making online content about Japan, particularly like video content, everyone knew each other because it was a very small connected community. Yeah, I lived next to Roger Swan, like literally in the unit next to him. And he was probably like my best American friend during study abroad. But for those that don't know, Roger Swan, he also got accepted to the JET program at the same time as me. Immediately after graduating from university, came to Japan. We came to Japan on the JET program at the same time. He went to Iwate, I went to Oita. And then I want to say like 6 months in, less than a year in, I think, to my first year on the JET program, he passed away from acute pancreatitis. Like he basically just got extremely sick all of a sudden and passed away. And it was just like the most devastating thing that I'm gonna like cry just like thinking about it right now, because he was just like such a good dude. Yeah. Swan was too pure fucking tragedy what happened to him. Seriously, like I am gonna like start crying. I can't like talk about this anymore. Yeah, he was just like the nicest guy. And you can like look at his videos. They're still up on YouTube. Look up Roger or Tokyo Swan or Iwate Swan. And you can just like see how nice of a guy he is. Like, here's how good of a guy he was. Like, after study abroad, when I see how Dasai, I clicked in and found a Stanley. Yeah, I apologize for that. Like, you know, during study abroad, you get close to all the other exchange students and you kind of stay in touch with them, like, you know, digitally. And so like there was like maybe 3 or 4 people that I stayed in touch with from my study abroad, and I would just like email with them. And Roger was one of them. It was like him, this guy named Luke, this guy named David from Ecuador. and we would like mail each other every now and then. But then Roger on Christmas, like after study abroad, I want to say he sent like a handwritten Christmas card to like everyone in the dorm. It's just like, I wrote this big long essay about Roger after he passed away, and like the way that I've always thought about Roger is like, you see like these memes online where it's like faith in humanity restored. That's like what I felt like every time I talked with him, or like I hung out with him. It was just like, I could never imagine him doing something like double crossing someone, or doing, like, again, handwriting a Christmas card for like everyone in the dorm. He was probably the only one that did something like that from that whole group of people. Yeah. Anyway, that's how Tokyo Sam and I know each other. We've never met in real life, but man, he was, yeah, I don't like talking about it too much. Okay, I'll try and switch topics. I've been trouble listening, translating, and dealing with different sentence structure of Japanese. By the time I translate the first few words, the speaker is done and I've missed the rest. Advice? It's just a matter of time, really, because I've talked about this before, but the same thing is true for like of your own language. And what I mean by that is, if you can generally understand the conversation of someone who has like, I don't know, maybe like 5 IQ points on you, like they're 5 IQ points smarter than you. You can still follow them, even if they're talking about something that is like too advanced for you. But if it's like 20 IQ points on you, or like 30 IQ points on you, or something like that, and it's like, you know, quantum physics or something like that, that might not be possible to follow, because it's like lingo that you're not familiar with. The ability to understand speech, or the ability to, not the ability, but the phenomenon of not being able to articulate as much as you can understand, that's normal in both your native language, but also the language that you learn. So know that it's normal to not be able to process as much as you think that you should, where you are at your current studies, but that'll iron itself out over time. You just need to keep exposing yourself and keep like, I think the best thing, excuse me, that you can do is watch like a Japanese movie on repeat. The movie that I always recommend is 12 Kind Japanese, 12人の優しい日本人. That, I watched that like literally 100 times during study abroad. I would watch it at least once a day, if not twice a day. Yeah, and that made like all the difference in the world. That probably made a bigger difference than any other study method that I did, whether it was flashcards or hanging out with Japanese people or going to Japanese classes or whatever it might be. So that's what I would recommend. MO again, thank you for the super chat. My apologies for not addressing that more in the moment. I was, again, kind of talking about Roger, so timing didn't really feel right. Yeah, I know Dogen since his at-home acrobatics and horror blogs days. Always been a cool dude, got super fluent in Japanese before anyone else here. I don't know, I think that was probably Hiko Saemon. I think he was probably like the first guy that got like super fluent, but I appreciate that, Sam. Hey Dogen, what is Shinto like in Japan? Can you be a little bit more specific? It's a little bit hard for me to answer that. It's a religion, it's one of the major religions, but a lot of Japanese people are only kind of religious at like the surface level. So like they'll take part in, like if they get married, maybe they'll have like a Shinto wedding or something like that. But like they don't really necessarily consider themselves to be Shinto. Or maybe like, yeah, it's The Gentle 1291. That's the movie, yeah. Any plateau you reach just to give it time and trust? Just give it time and trust. I'm starting to believe that. Yeah, definitely. Understanding is a prerequisite to the articulation of that understanding. Yep, yeah. Could you write the name of the movie? Yeah, I'll write it down right now. 12人の優しい日本人. Actually, I gotta refresh my browser. Hello, good sir. Lester, how's it going? Okay, hopefully this is still going. Oops, sorry. Here we go. That could have been it. I don't. Hey Dogen, speaking of, are you still interested in Zen, or is that an old interest? I still think it's extremely interesting. It's just not something that I've been actively pursuing recently. Here's a question I hope you can shed light on. Yeah, sure, go for it. Will sleep apnea / snoring be an issue to those who are considering a capsule hotel? I don't think so. I mean, it's like the people around you won't be thrilled about it, but it's kind of, what would you say, like it's a given that if you're in a capsule hotel, that you're gonna hear some of the sounds of the people around you. So, yeah, you're not gonna get like, what do you say, corporal punishment or anything like that. Perfect background video for the second half of the 2K flashcards I have for today. Yeah. The thing about like immersion I've found is that it's really good, but it's more effective if you do kind of like repetitive immersion, because a lot of times when you do immersion, because what you use to immerse can change quite radically. Like if you're using like Attack on Titan one day and they're talking about like 立体起動装置, like the 3D dimensional maneuvering gear or whatever it's called, and like, like 超型巨人 or whatever. It's like all these words that will only exist in Attack on Titan, and then like the next day you're using like a series like Orange Days or something like that. It's like this like college students, it's like about like piano and like sign language and that kind of thing. Like a lot of stuff, it'll just go in one ear and out the other unless you repeat it. And that's why it's really good to listen to things on repeat, because you start to unconsciously anticipate what's coming. And once you get to that level, you start to realize what the meaning of these things are through osmosis. Like, I learned so many words, like higaisha, I don't know, muzai, yuzai, muzai, yuzai, hikoku, bainin だったかな? Just through that series. Like it's unbelievable. Just watch Dogen skits on repeat. Well, I actually have an announcement about that in the not too distant future. That's one of the things that I'm kind of working on right now. 12人の優しい日本人が好きなら、ヨーロッパ企画の映画リバー流れないでをおすすめします。知らないな。なんだろうこれ。Don't Flow River? なんだろうこれ。最近の映画か。気になるな。なんだ。気になる。Oh, hey, thank you very much. This stream is like a Makoto Shinkai film, filling the garden with words, having your name at the bottom left, leaves at the back falling at 5 centimeters a second. Yeah, I just need like the Radwimps soundtrack. Zen, 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 sekai, or whatever, however that song went. I appreciate it though. Thank you very much for the super chat. Okay, Lester, you had a question. What does the American accent sound like in Japanese? You know, like how the States, you can tell that the hint of a Spanish Latin accent, even with someone having great pitch and enunciation. Yeah, there's like 2 or 3 things that are very characteristic of an American accent when speaking Japanese. And these are, 1, pitch accent is all over the place. So like a good example of this is if you say the word like student as gakusei rather than gakusei, or you say like school as gakko. People who never study pitch accent but come from a stress accent language tend to put accents on words where they shouldn't be. This is kind of like what my Japanese course on Patreon is all about. It's like this element of Japanese that's almost never taught in the classroom. And there's like a bunch of really, really useful rules that if you study can make a tremendous difference. Like your Japanese pronunciation batting average can go up immediately overnight. It really helped me, but that's one. Another one is screwing up the R sounds. This is an issue that I still have. And one of the issues is because people call them R sounds. So like when I learned Japanese in the classroom setting, they referred to these sounds as like the Japanese R sound in these textbooks. And one of the teachers that I had taught it the wrong way. He said you're supposed to like curl your tongue back and then flick it forward, but this isn't true. It's not like it's not a retroflex sound. Your tongue just goes out and it hits the alveolar ridge. It's an alveolar tap. And if you curl your tongue back at all, like an English R sound, it'll sound distinctly like American English. So that's number 2. And then the third thing is probably timing. This is another thing that I have a lot of trouble with in Japanese, but in Japanese, it's very important to basically give every single sound an equal amount of time. And we don't do this in stress accent languages like English. Like a good example is if I say tomorrow, that's a 3-syllable word, but the syllable in the middle, the syllable that's accented, is longer than the other syllables, right? So if I say tomorrow, 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 the syllables are not the same length. And because there are words in Japanese that do have accents, like a good example might be like chopsticks, ohashi. It should be said like that, ohashi, ohashi, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But if you come from a stress accent language, you're going to have the tendency to say the accented bit for too long, like ohashi. And this is also true for not saying the sounds for long enough. It's like a lot of people, they'll say like nihon, and they won't say the final for long enough because of the way that stress accent languages work. So these are the 3 things. If you come from the United States and you speak in your native language is North American English, then there's a decent probability that your pitch accent, if you've never studied it, is maybe not the best, that your R sounds are a little bit off, and that your rhythm is a little bit off as well. And I try and talk about not so much rhythm, but I talk extensively about pitch accent and pronunciation in my course. I'll link that right now in chat. Again, like 25% off using code JOLES25 until Christmas. So if anyone wants to check it out. That final is almost like an M too. Well, the thing about the sound in Japanese, this sound, is that it has 7 different pronunciations. To the new year, Dogen, thanks for everything. Hey, Don, thank you very much for stopping in. I appreciate it. Good talking to you on Patreon the other day. And thank you very much for the super chat. Were you always actively watching it, or did you sometimes have it on in the background? I did both. I would watch it actively, but then after I had actively watched it maybe like 10 times, and I kind of, even if I didn't understand the meaning of everything, I knew what to anticipate in terms of how the actors were going to move, what scene followed what, etc. Then I started watching it more passively. Okay, let's keep going. Yeah, the sound has like 7 different pronunciations. Like it can be a nasalized vowel, it can be an M, it can be three different kinds of N's, I guess maybe 4, 5. Let's see. Yeah, it can be like like a kind of more like a. It has many different pronunciations, and I break down all of these in in my course. The thing about trying to like break these down right now without native recordings and without graphics is that it's quite hard to understand. But basically, the sound in Japanese, it's just the nasal version of the sound that follows it. So in a word like do your best, like ganbatte, it becomes an M because the sound that follows it is a B. And the nasal version of a B is an M. But then if you have it in like Nihongo, then it becomes a velar N because the G is a velar consonant. So that's kind of like the basic breakdown of that sound. ピッチアクセントの意識されないのは日本の英語教育でシラブルが意識されないのに似ている気がします。そうですね。まあなんで教えないかっていうと、その学ばなくても通じるじゃないですか。だったらその限られた時間をどう効率よく使うかっていうのが多分先生の役割だと思うんですよね。で、とにかくその自分の伝えたいことを伝えられているかどうかっていうのが、一番大事なんじゃないかなと思うんですよね。で、特にその授業とかの中だったら、普通の大学授業とかだったらその発音とか音声を教える時間がないんですよね。時間の問題だと思うんですよね。Okay, let's see. I don't know too much about stress accents or stress language, but is it a stress one? Spanish is a stress accent language. The good thing about Spanish, if you're trying to learn Japanese, is that the sounds are much more similar to Japanese than English. So thank you very much for the super chat, Stephen. I'll get to this in one second. The vowels in Spanish and the Spanish R sound is essentially identical to the Japanese R sound and the Japanese vowels as well. So if you take that and then also study pitch accent, you can get very, very, very good pronunciation in Japanese. So yeah, shameless plug, but maybe consider signing up with my course. Again, 25% off annual subscriptions until the end of the year. One of the tweets that I did 2 days ago was the One Piece live adaptation. The main character, Iñaki, is that his name? How do you say his name? He did an interview with Oda Sensei, all in Japanese. His Japanese is phenomenal for only studying for 1 year. I was so impressed. Like, a lot of people in the comments were being like, oh, this is like clearly like a scripted thing. But even if it's like semi-scripted, he comes across so naturally. Like, that's what he's doing. That's seriously impressive. Okay, let's keep going. 日本語喋った。はい。I recommend that you use language exchange apps for interaction with Japanese people. Yeah, that can help a lot as well. Okay, let's keep going. 道元さんの日本語めっちゃくちゃわかりやすい。ごめんなさい。ありがとうございます。So Stephen, hey Dogen, I really love your content and you've made me laugh so much over the years. Wishing for your continued success and prosperity. Thank you so much. Again, I've talked about this earlier in this stream, but there's going to be a lot of new developments coming in 2025. So I'm really excited to talk about all that stuff. How about Russian? It is an accented language as English, but do you know about the sounds? There was something about Russian with lip I want to say there was one big difference between Russian in terms of how the lips are used in Japanese. Like French, there's too much lip rounding in French. Not inherently, but when you compare it to Japanese, one of the hallmarks of a French accent, like a French, you can tell the person's French when they're speaking Japanese is if they round their lips a lot. That's like the French version of what I was talking about earlier with like the American accent. And I want to say there was something similar in Russian. I think it was that in Russian, there's a lot of lip spreading in Russian. I think that's what I read. And so when you hear someone who comes from a Russian background speak in Japanese, what you often hear is the effects of too much lip spreading. I believe that that's correct. Thanks again, Stephen. That's a really generous donation. I really appreciate that. Can you still do a backflip? I can do one on a trampoline. I can't do one on the ground, or at least I haven't tried in a long time. Oh shoot, my camera's about to die. Guys, give me 1 second. I'm gonna go get like a USB-C cable. I'll be right back. I gotta turn off my camera. I'm not gonna turn it off. I'm just going to turn off the display. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get that. Yes. Man, I am glad I noticed that. How are we looking? Are we still good? Okay, hopefully we're still USB power. Oh man, did the camera turn off when I was away? Okay, and are we still going? I think we're still going. Okay, I think it's still good. Hey Dogen, on your Patreon, there's a typo for the 3rd tier. Oh, okay, I'll check that out. Thank you. I'll email that to myself right now. Thank you, I appreciate that. All right, cool. All right, let's see. Back to chat. Here we go. I could probably make this a little bit brighter now too. Okay. Got that nice LAN cable in the background. Okay, here we go. Can you do your best French Yabaton speaking Japanese impression? I'm not an impression guy. Okay, cultural question. Many Americans I talk to say Japanese people never let foreigners assimilate. Do you think this is true, or only for foreigners who make no attempt to learn or use Japanese? Okay, so I'm going to speak from my own personal experience. This is anecdotal. This is just me speaking. I have never, ever, ever felt discrimination or anything even close to it in Japan. There's a lot of like headaches that come from living in Japan. That's true for any country. Like going to the city hall is like a nightmare. But I have never experienced anything that is even close to something like that. And then I'd like to kind of follow up by saying that most of the foreigners that I have seen in my immediate circle, let me preface this by saying, in my immediate circle, who have become maybe jaded about Japan or something like that, they don't have very good Japanese, and they don't make a very good, a big attempt to assimilate. Everyone that I know, and this is not true for everyone, but just everyone that I know who has good Japanese and who makes an effort to assimilate is readily accepted, at least where I live in Beppu. Granted, there are a lot of foreigners in Beppu. Now, without going like too much into the nitty gritty, there's a lot of, there's like this, I forget what it's called, but there's like this kind of visa in Japan that it's mostly for like physical labor work, whether that's like working at like nursing homes or doing like construction work or like working on a farm or something like that. And there's a lot of people, in my understanding, that come from, I'm trying to make like this serious point, and like the garbage truck with like it's like like, I don't know if you guys can hear this or not, but I've heard that a lot of people that come to Japan on that visa come from Southeast Asian countries, whether that's like Cambodia or Myanmar or maybe Vietnam or something like that. I don't think so much from Vietnam recently, but I've heard a lot of those people have had very less than positive experiences in Japan. So I think that it's definitely a very case-by-case kind of basis thing, and I can only speak for myself and for the things that I've heard other people say. So hopefully that answers your question somewhat. I would say that trying to assimilate will never hurt, and complaining will never help. There's a lot of people I know, I made a video, I'm probably gonna end up taking it down, heads up, like if you wanna like save that video or whatever. But I made a video about immigration in Japan about maybe like, I don't know, 2 months ago at this point. And there was a lot of people that said, no, like people have the right to complain about Japan in the comment section of that video, because one of the points that I tried to make in that video was Japan has a fair number of problems, but when you vent about Japan online, on Twitter or whatever, it only exacerbates the situation, because Japanese people will see foreigners complain about how bad or backwards Japan is or whatever, and that only has a negative effect. That cannot have a positive effect on the way that Japanese people perceive foreigners. Like if it's a constructive criticism, I don't know if you guys can hear this or not, but there's like this garbage truck going by. It's got like this super like happy melodic tone right now. I'm pretty sure you guys can hear that. I think it's almost gone. The point I was trying to make, and I think that one of the reasons that that video might have upset a lot of people is because I didn't articulate this point very well. It was the point that I was trying to make, so this is on me, but it's okay to want to make a positive change. The point that I was trying to make is that complaining is very different than constructive criticism. And when you spend time complaining online, like I spend an okay amount of time on Japan Twitter. And one of the things that I see every now and then is Japanese people posting about foreigners complaining about Japan. And the Japanese post will basically say something along the lines of like, look at these foreigners complaining about Japan. Let's kick these foreigners out of Japan. And it's like, I get that sentiment. Like, why would you want people that spend all day complaining about your home country in your home country, you know? And so, like, again, it's a very different thing to complain than it is to try and have a productive and nuanced discussion about complicated issues. But if you just say like, oh man, like all Japanese people are racist, it's like, this is not going to help anyone at all. If anything, it's just going to make the problem way worse. Okay. Dogen, I'm moving to Okinawa for 3 years in March. I'm starting Japanese class as well. Any advice? I would say this might sound like kind of counterintuitive, but try and listen to as much Japanese as possible outside of the class. Because if you're taking Japanese in a class, it probably means that you're going to be listening to a fair amount of foreigners trying to speak Japanese rather than native Japanese. And that can lead to negative pronunciation habits. This is actually why like on my Patreon course, I only use native recordings because my Japanese isn't perfect. And if you want to avoid, it's easier to develop a good habit than it is to fix a bad one. And in that sense, you want to listen to as much native Japanese as possible early on. Okay. Okay. I figure if I go to Japan, it's on me to take Japan and Japanese people as they are and be polite, including making an effort at Japanese language. I'm a guest. I tend to have the same mindset. Like a lot of people, I made this video with Takashi the other day, Takashi from Japan. And one of the things that I said in that video was, I don't like to tell Japanese people what they should and shouldn't do. Like, I'm not Japanese, I can't vote here. And I think it's kind of hypocritical for me to say that Japanese needs to change in this particular way if I don't at the same time give up my American nationality and apply for Japanese citizenship. If I do that, I'm just like speaking out of both sides of my mouth. It's like, Japan, you need to change to fit me, but I'm not going to make the effort necessary to become a Japanese citizen and actually put in the time to do what's necessary to be able to cast a vote here. Like, again, I can understand the mindset of wanting to change Japan in some ways, but I think that expecting Japan to fit your own cultural, your values, I don't agree with that. You're not a dual citizen? Why not? Well, Japan doesn't allow dual citizenship to begin with. Like if you want a Japanese passport, you have to give up your other passport. Especially when you literally chose to move to Japan. You could have chosen any other country on the world and now you want the country to change. I don't think this is the mindset. I don't think this mindset would work anywhere. Yeah, I mean, again, like I'm reiterating myself at this point, but it's okay to be like, okay, look, this part of Japan, maybe again, like the bureaucracy at like the city hall, most Japanese people as well would probably agree that this isn't the most effective system. Maybe there's a discussion to be had about trying to speed things up with automation or AI or something like that. Again, a constructive discussion. That's the way to approach it, to actually go to the city hall and try and talk to someone there. Not to open Twitter and be like, Japanese people are so backwards and bad at this. Like this is something I've always tried to do in my comedic videos. Anytime that I make a point that's critical about Japan, I try and do so through comedy, because if I can get the Japanese audience to laugh with the joke, they're much less likely to be like feel like they're being backed into a corner. And when you feel like you're being backed into the corner, regardless of your nationality, like the natural instinct is to lash out. So if you're just like, but it's so easy to open the Twitter and to rant instead, right? Yeah, I don't get it. Like, I do not understand like complaining online. Like, what's the point? I don't get it at all. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe people think that I'm complaining like in my comedic videos, but I always try and make an effort to make it actually comedy, and if it comes across as like a complaint, then that's my bad. Validation from the void. That's a great way of putting it. Okay. I might visit Japan for the first time for about a week next year. Any advice to get the most out of that short stay? Go to Kamakura. Go to Kamakura. Go to these two places, Kamakura and Minato Mirai. Okay, humans love it for some reason. Yeah. I see a lot of foreigners here defending Japan no matter what, even when it sounds forced and hypocritical. Oddly enough, you hardly see this attitude from foreigners in other countries. Andre, can you give an example of that, like a concrete example? I'm curious as to specifically what you're talking about. What app that you usually use while living in Japan, Dogen sensei? Wise, Wise. I'm actually a Wise partner. It's like a money conversion app. Let me see. Yeah, I can't really like show it. I'll just like show like my Wise, like my lock screen. My Face ID is broken right now. There's like onsen water in my phone. I dropped it in the onsen the other day because I'm an idiot. Anyway, I have like a referral code, but it's like the easiest way to send money to and from Japan to like other countries I've found. I wonder if I can find that code. I'm not going to bother with it. Not right now. Okay. Dogen, I recently watched your Japan's problem with immigration, and I mostly agree with you, but I feel like your example with the video game dev comparison wasn't very strong / misleading. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Because what I did in that was I kind of made it sound like, what would you say? This culture of like this hustle culture in like video game industry is like very unique to Japan. And I don't think that's true. I think there's a lot of really passionate people across the world who are willing to do like all-nighters to put like to get like an incredible game or something like that. And I think it's very fair to call out kind of like how I was talking about that. The point that I was trying to make was that this kind of like hustle culture, not necessarily like hustle culture, but this feeling of like, I need to give my all to my work is something that I've found the overwhelming majority of Japanese people feel regardless of their occupation. Like if you go to a Japanese konbini, like a Japanese convenience store, or like a Japanese hotel or a Japanese company, wherever it might be, the overwhelming majority of the people that work there are going to take their job very, very seriously. And it's kind of like this diligence that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. But it's very fair to be critical of how I presented that point in the video, because it made it sound, how I presented that was wrong. I made it sound more like Japan is unique in the sense that the people work really, really hard and that's why I didn't say only Japan makes great video games, but I said like this is one of the reasons that Japan has made like Elden Ring or whatever. But again, there's super dedicated people in different industries around the world. I've just found that the kind of people that have an extreme amounts of passion for their jobs I feel like when it comes to work outside of Japan, the people that are very, very diligent and work extremely hard and care about like their job performance or whatever, especially like Americans like myself, they can only be kind of give their all. Okay, I'm just speaking for myself at this point, but I can only give my all if it's something that I'm passionate about. So like I did sales for a long time. I did student recruitment for a long time. I did recruitment in Tokyo. I did it in the United States. I did it in Beppu. I've done it in many different locations, and I've never liked it. And so in that sense, I've always done enough, like I did my job, but I never like gave that kind of work like absolutely 100%. And it was because all the time I was doing all those jobs, I would go home and I would work on something else after the fact because I was more passionate about that, like creative writing or something like that. But I feel like the overwhelming majority of Japanese people will give their all to their work, even if it's something that they're not passionate about. That's the point that I was trying to make, but that's not the point that I articulated. And so I think it's very fair to be critical of particularly that part of the video. I'm not sure if I completely agree with the point you just made, and I really appreciate you responding to my message as well. The point that you make is a really good one. The community cares for itself here. Yeah. It's like, again, the thing that I'm most passionate about is creative writing. But I kind of made it sound like in that video, like only Japanese people have this much passion for video games. But that's certainly not true. There's tons of people, like the people that just won, well, I don't know, like Baldur's Gate 3 is a fantastic example. Like the people who made that game are clearly extremely passionate about video games, just as passionate as Japanese people. It's more about what I said a second ago about how I have found that many Americans, at least myself, tend to only to give their all to work that they enjoy. Not all work. They tend to be selective about their output, so to speak. So, okay. Do you have any recommendations for long-form listening stuff geared not towards learners, but just narrative speaking? I would say, I'll just post it in chat again. 12人の優しい日本人. Oops. This is such a great movie for listening because, oh no, my Mac is about to die now too. I should have brought like my plug. My Mac is at 8%. Okay guys, so I'm gonna have to end the stream in like 5 minutes. I'm gonna like lower my screen brightness so it doesn't just like die off suddenly. Unrelated, what would you say it takes to get the MEXT scholarship? I've been curious about it recently for undergrad. I'm not sure. I never got MEXT, so I couldn't really help. Be good at Japanese, be professional. That's probably good advice. Super comfy stream, by the way. Thanks for doing it. Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for staying around so long. Goblin? Goblin ですか? Goblin ってことかな? iPhone send. That's pretty good. I like that. Okay. May I ask what hiking culture in Japan is like? I've been to Japan. Okay, I think my computer is like starting to freak out because of the battery. If the stream suddenly ends, it's because my computer died, so I apologize for that. I actually do have an outdoor plug over there. It's just that I didn't think my computer would eat through the battery life this quickly. I guess it makes sense because I'm streaming with like pretty high quality right now. Okay. I've heard that Japan actually has a really good hiking culture. And this is probably because Japan is like basically just covered in mountains. Like I talked about this in the Why Japan Loves Small Things video, but I want to say it's like 70% of Japan is mountains. So like all the big cities are exactly where you would expect them to be, where the mountains aren't. So like Tokyo, the reason Tokyo has the biggest population is because if you look at a topographical map of Japan, that area, like the Tokyo greater metropolitan area, that's the biggest area in all of Japan where the ground is flat. So no wonder everyone gathered there, because it's easier to live on flat ground than it is to live up in the mountains. Like I live on top of a mountain, basically. This was great, by the way. Loved chatting with you. Thank you very much. Or you can switch to iPhone, Sen. Yeah, I could. Thanks for the stream and showing off the courtyard. Hey, my pleasure. As an American, I agree with this take. I am only passionate about work I love. Might be a very American individualistic mindset. I think it is. I think it's very individualistic, but I think that that's part of American culture, for better or for worse. Like, I don't know, that's just the way that many of us are. It's like, it's kind of baked into us. Like we're inherently revolutionary. Like, don't tell me what to do. I don't want to pay your tea taxes. Don't tell me what to do, Mom. This is like the American mindset. Why do I have to do this work? I don't want to. I want to do the work that I want to do. And for better or for worse, you know, that's the way that we are. Right, did you watch any new anime this year, and what was your favorite? Did I? Any new anime? I tried watching season 2 of Arcane, but I actually couldn't get through it. Let's see, anime. I feel like the last anime that I watched Dungeon Meshi. I really liked that. I thought that was phenomenal. When I walked Fushimi Inari, just about every Japanese person outpaced me. I felt so out of practice. I'm not too familiar with that. But yeah, Dungeon Meshi was probably my favorite anime that I watched this year. I don't know if that was this year or last year, but I really liked that. Dungeon Meshi. Again, I'm reading Oyasumi Pum right now, which is really good. Dōgen さんは夏と冬、どっちが好きですか？冬です。地、おすすめです。地をちょっと見てみます。ありがとうございます。Also, as an American, I only 100% if I see it as a benefit. Otherwise, they are getting a smooth 70%. Well, yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. This is probably a very American way of seeing it, but like when I was working at APU is a good place to study for certain things, but I didn't like working there. I wasn't a student. I think being a student there could be really great, but I didn't like working there, probably because I was making like 20万円 a month, which is like literally like $1,300 or like $1,400 in today's exchange rate, which is nothing. And I was like going to Hong Kong and doing school visits all day and then staying up until like 2 o'clock in the morning, like designing like the university brochure. So I was like, of course, like I'm gonna have a bad taste in my mouth and be like, look, if you want like the best of me, like at least pay me like a healthy salary. Okay, city life isn't for me, but rural Japan also scares me to visit one day without getting a greater comprehension of the language and their culture. Would hate to incidentally offend someone. I think you'd be surprised at how, I think, forgiving Japanese people can be about, like, I think I've seen many people that are very scared of like offending Japanese people. I don't think it's something that you need to be scared of, as long as you're not like doing what I used to do, which is like backflips on like at like parks and stuff like that. Most people don't do that. Like if you're just taking pictures or doing whatever, it's like it's fine. Hey Dogen, love the videos you put out, dude, and thanks for putting out such an enjoyable stream. As someone who wants to see Japanese in a professional, use Japanese in a professional setting, is there anything I should focus on? It really depends on how you want to use Japanese. Like, I would say, learn the aspect of Japanese that you think that you will use the most. Like, if you need to use a lot of business Japanese, study that. If you want to become a voice actor or something like that, try and get your spoken Japanese as good as possible. My computer is dying right now. It's at 3%. So I'm going to end the stream here. Guys, I'll do the... well, thank you very much. サマ先生とまたコラボしてください。またしたいな。また彼女に話したいな。Yeah, she's so funny. Well, thank you all very much for coming out to the stream. I really enjoyed it. 2024 was an awesome year for me. I look forward to 2025 as well. One last time, my course on Patreon, which teaches Japanese pronunciation and pitch accent, is 25% off until Christmas, or I think it's maybe the 25th. If you use the code JOZU25, but I think that gets applied automatically if you do like the annual subscription. So if you're interested in learning Japanese pitch accent or pronunciation, maybe check that out. It's, again, 25% off right now. It looks like my computer is more or less dying right now. Okay, so I'm going to end the stream right now. Thank you guys so much for coming out. I had a great time. Let's do it again soon. ありがとうございます。来年もよろしくお願いします。さようなら。じゃあね。